Okay, guys. So I think now we should be now should be this time when we are live, and hopefully you guys see us very well. So today we have very cool live stream about very cool watches, Rolex Oysterquartz. So today we're gonna be talking everything about Rolex Oysterquartz, and we have a guest, Marcus, who knows much more about this than I do. So I'm excited to learn from Marcus, and to actually he's gonna show us watches, and we're gonna talk like everything. Oyster Quartz. So YouTube changed this UI a little bit. So please let us know if the picture looks weird. It looks okay on our side, but yeah, if you guys see any issues, please let us know in the chat. So Marcus, thank you for joining us. So I actually discovered you because of your name, not Marcus' name, but NewQuartzCrisis name. So maybe you can start with why such name and.
Hello from my side also, and thanks for having me. And this name, like your name, it's a historical event, and I have this kind of a prophecy that there will be a quartz boom, or specifically oyster quartz boom. So, but oyster quartz did not sound so sexy, so I used the wordplay new quartz crisis, because oyster quartz is the rarest mass-produced Rolex ever made, and if there is a boom, then I think there will be some scarcity. So it's a word play on that.
Very nice. Yeah. So, guys, just keep in mind today we are talking about oyster quartz, but Marcus is interested in all these very interesting and cool watches. Yeah, it's maybe we'll mention it a little bit, and it actually. It's not like the idea about new boom in these like quartz crisis, these like cool watches actually make sense, because everything is cyclical. Like if you think about Daytona, right? So now everybody wants Daytona, everybody knows some like guy Paul Newman, right? But like nobody wanted those Daytonas. Like people like it was the watch hardest to sell. Nobody would wear it. People would buying like everything but that. So it's very possible that and those watches are so cool. That's kind of the thing, that those oyster quartz and the other watches that Marcos is interested in, they are so cool. So hey, it would make a lot of sense, and I would love for them to come back.
That's true, and historically the watches that have gone up in crazy prices have been the unpopular ones. But
Yep.
But I would say that I am not into so much into the value of watches, or at the end of the day, I really don't care if the price goes up or down. I just like them, and if they would become more popular, I think it would be just cool. There would be more people to discuss these topics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk about oyster quartz, because like right now everybody just has to have Rolex, and there is one Rolex that nobody knows about, or like even if they know about, they probably never actually saw it in real life. They kind of. Yeah, how do you want to start, Marcos?
I can I can first start with the journey of how I got into watches, maybe. So I was born in Estonia, which was Soviet Union back then, and
Very
I grew
sad.
up in post-Soviet Estonia, and as you can imagine, the environment was not very refined. There's an example that I like to make is that I could stick my hand into the panel gaps of my mother's Moskvich, and so when I was about 10, I remember my grandfather opening up a watch case pack, and it was like a city in there. It was so high definition that it seems like I'm watching 4K video when the rest of the world is like pixelated, and I was hooked from that moment. And regarding Oysterquartz, I think I stumbled on it around 2010, and back then I had learned this nose up attitude from the mainstream watch media that everything quartz related is bad. So at first I dismissed it, but then it kind of stuck with me at the back of my mind, and a few months later I circled back, started to read about it, and really went deep down the oyster quartz rabbit hole and fell in love. So this is how I ended with the watch bug, and how I fell in love with oyster quartz. Basically,
So sorry for interruption. I just people who watch my channel probably know that I was also born in the old Soviet Union. So I was born in Ukraine. Now we are at war with Russia. but you guys did.
So technically, we were born in the same country.
Technically, but yeah, you guys did much better than Ukraine. You joined EU and you joined NATO, and but yeah, and because of that, now Putin invaded Ukraine. But hopefully Ukraine will do okay. And anyway, so sorry for so oyster quartz. So oyster quartz was actually the watch that you kind of that got you into those interesting, cool QuartzCrisis watches, right? That was the one.
Yes, that was the one. It was like the first watch that was outside of the box watch for me. Before that, I was really kind of just following the trends. So, and after that, I've always liked watches that are unusual, that have a weird history, and maybe were not commercial success. Those are the kinds of watches that have my attention.
Okay, so maybe what do you want to talk a little bit about, like maybe like a movement, or is this time to show us some watches?
Yeah, I brought three watches with me today, and they are from the extreme ends of the Oysterquartz family, let's say.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so here is the a reference 17013.
So let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I can see that bracelet is like, oh my god, it's so cool.
Yes, it catches light like no other Rolex. And interesting fact about Rolex Oysterquartz is when they launched it, it was priced above the mechanical equivalent. So, and you can see it really in the design also, that that this was meant to be like the top tier, highest watch that they produce.
Okay.
And the other end of the spectrum is this day date.
Oh yeah.
This is a reference 19058, and this is an off-catalog model from 1984 with the factory gem set baguette bezel and hour markers. And
that also has hour markers in. Can you? I wonder if it's possible to show those.
Let's see.
I don't know. Yeah, that's.
I will try to.
Let's just do this. Yeah, I know it's hard for you to switch the camera. Your setup is much harder than mine.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, maybe you can show all of them like close-ups, and after that we're not gonna switch. Oh, I see.
So this is like the cream of the crop in the oyster quartz world. This was one of the most expensive watches you can buy in 1984. An off-catalog model. This specific one has a Saudi provenance. So the first owner was the Aramco, the Saudi oil company. So this has very cool history also. And the other end of the spectrum, or I would say the most common oyster quartz family member, is this one, the two-tone day date, reference 17013. And funny thing with, because they're all quartz, I think this is something that you don't see very often, but they all show exactly the same time, exactly the same date.
Nice.
So this is Friday 26, and the time is 6:16 approximately. So yeah, this is also.
So hey Marcus, while you're still there, so I had a question to ask you. With quartz, usually the problem is that the second hand does not hit the minute markers. How is it with oyster quartz, and how is it with these three watches that you have? Do they hit the?
You mean the line for the seconds? Yeah.
Yes.
They do.
They do.
All of them have a dial that has those second lines also.
Yes. Things like this one does. Can you show us like one more watch? Maybe this in the middle. Maybe like anyone which is easy. Okay, let's see. Yep, that's super blurry, but I can say that this does hit the minute mark very precise. Very nice, man. Very nice.
Yeah, and it
very cool.
It has a very aggressive and very solid tick also. So the second hands, with a lot of the quartz watches, the second hand kind of moves back a little bit when they move forward, and they don't actually stop. They a little bit have this.
Oh, there is this kind of movement.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So Rolex really took their time to make it so that I would say it's really over engineered watch. So, and if to talk about the movements, it's actually with the oyster quartz family, it's quite simple. There's two movements, one for the Datejust and one for the day date. And basically that's it. They ran those movements throughout the life cycle, which is about 25 years. And the only difference is that the first few years, the movement did not have the certification. So yeah, so it doesn't say on the dial that it's certified. It just says Oysterquartz. So
yes,
yeah.
it's interesting. I know they did chronometer certification for mechanical movements, but yeah, so they actually did certification for quartz too.
Yes, yeah.
I would assume.
But only after the first few years. So there's like a Mark 1 dial and Mark 2 dial. Mark 1 dial is with just Oysterquartz written on the dial, and the Mark 2 dial has the certification lettering also.
So is
I just wanted to say that it's actually a very, how to say, quite easy watch to understand, to learn about. With many other Rolex watches, there's like so much diversity that there is hundreds of small differences on the dial, and if you want to get into vintage watches, it's kind of scary. So because
I see your point.
yeah, it's very easy to make a mistake. So with Oysterquartz, I would say the threshold of knowledge is a little bit easier to
that's very nice.
acquire. Yeah.
That's very nice, because that's kind of like I'm like things that I collect. I'm trying to. I like those brands that are easy to collect, that are very well documented, that are very easy to figure out what's authentic, what's not authentic. Kind of like I like to mention like vintage Grand Seiko or vintage Hamilton. But yeah, so it seems like Oysterquartz, because there are so only two movements, not that many watches. How many references? Like two references or more?
No, there's a lot of references actually, because there's a lot of dial variations.
So with each different dial, they had a different reference number?
No, well, yeah, there's different dials, there's different bracelets, there's gem setting, there's different references. For example, if it's rubies, if it's sapphires, if it's a rainbow bezel. So there's quite a lot of different references, but overall, I would say there's two steel versions, which are both Datejusts. There is one two-tone version, which is also a Datejust, and then there is the fourth version, the day date, which is in all gold variation.
I see. So, but still, so let's think. So, okay. So, in terms of movements, it's not that many movements. So, it's kind of there wouldn't be much issue there. Now, in terms of redials, is this kind of? It's usually with vintage watches, redial is a big issue. How is it with Oysterquartz? Is it? I guess there are not that many variations. So you said like Mark 1, Mark 2, right? So you can.
Yeah, and well, there is then there is double signed. There is also Tiffany dials or some Arabic dials. The national emblem of Oman dials. But I would say, because the Oysterquartz has it's relatively inexpensive Rolex. So I guess the incentive to to change the dials or do something shady in there is not so high as with
much
some
lower.
Daytona, for example.
Yeah. So that's also another good thing that it's not that doesn't make financial sense to do like a lot of fakery. So I know with Rolex there is often an issue that like if you have some watch, you don't know if that dial actually came with that watch. So like in a different group we were just talking about stone dials, for example. So you never know if the watch that the stone dial is in was actually born with that stone dial, because there is no way to tell. So people usually just find them separate stone dial, separate watch in a good condition, and they put it in and they sell it for big money. How about with Rolex Oysterquartz also? You kind of like don't know, or there is way to know if the dial came with that watch.
I think this same logic applies to all Rolex watches. There is not really a way to know this. I think even not long ago you could go to a Rolex dealer, authorized dealer, and they would swap the dial for you if you would like. So yeah, this is. And from my side of view, if you want to swap the dial, I don't know. If you are upfront about it later, if you sell the watch, then I guess it's not an issue.
Yeah. So like the issue is like later in life of that watch, nobody will tell you, and also if that dial is actually like correct for the watch or not. So like again, like for example, these like Hamilton Van Horns, there was only like one dial. So like I actually have this dial actually was swapped because I actually have an original dial. It has like a lot of patina. So but this one is actually closer to kind of like a dial in. It's not in perfect condition, but closer to the good condition. I actually can show it here. But with Van Horn, this is a correct dial. This is one and only dial that Van Horns were made. So it's not kind of a big issue of swapping them. But I think the same kind of applies to oyster quartz, because there are not that many variations, right? Like unless somebody does some like I don't know, like Saudi art, like dial or something like that, that's a different topic. But if you just wanted to do like I don't know, two-tone oyster quartz, or maybe like solid gold date, that's, and you take this like the most common dial, then like that's a correct dial, right? It's not, even if somebody swapped it, it's not like that's an incorrect dial, right?
Well, yeah, and I guess you could. The only situation where it would be a problem is if this reference never came with this dial, then it's kind of a Frankenstein. So yeah. So but if it came from the factory like this, or such a configuration was made, so then I really don't see a problem. And if the person is upfront about it, then why not?
And they are documented, so it's not like the number of watches is not that large, and you can actually figure out if that's correct dial. Like
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you. So you talked about chronometer certification. So are these actually high accuracy quartz, or they are not? Or high accuracy quartz is like a next level?
Define high accuracy? What do you
So
mean by that?
I know that Seiko has this high. I think this like 10 seconds or 5 seconds a year. Citizen made this like 1 second a year, like recently, but that's a new watch, and that's like okay, that's some
Yeah,
like a different.
this is
Mhm.
I don't remember from the top of my head what was the accuracy, but I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find out.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I would say outside of oyster quartzes, I like actually watches that maybe don't even tell the time, that play with the idea of telling time. In my mind, nowadays, I would say the watch has lost like this utility function, meaning so it's just a piece of mechanical art or a mechanical sculpture that you wear around your wrist to express yourself. So, and if you set the time manually, you are already plus minus maybe 30 seconds. So, and I know that most of my watch friends actually never set the time on their watch. So it's
that's like a different topic. Yeah, that's kind of a bit weird, but a bit makes sense.
yeah.
That's kind
So
of, yeah. But
it's
the good thing. So there was this like JQ article that everybody talks about. But what people don't talk in that JQ article is that if you have, and it doesn't have to be quartz, it just needs to be battery powered watch. Again, like kind of like this one, right? So if you use battery powered watch, then you don't need to set time. Like every time you pick it up and it shows correct time. You know that
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
the
That's
problem is not there. You know, so that's actually the superiority of quartz and other battery powered watches. That yeah, you don't need to bother. It's just you're good to go.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I haven't read the article. Maybe you can
It's
send
yeah,
maybe you
it's
can send it
kind
to me
of
later.
yeah. It's like everybody was talking about it, and it's I don't know. Let's not discuss that article
Okay.
because but yeah, if you guys just wear your watches as a fashion statement, you don't want to bother like setting anything there. You feel like Andy Warhol. Just use battery powered watch. You'll be fine. So in terms of I have few things here I wanted to bring up with you. So in terms of wearability and like how oyster quartz looks, so in some way it's very similar to kind of just like regular Rolex, and in a good way. It's kind of matches anything, goes well with anything. It will. So you are dressed almost like super formally. Like oyster quartz will go great with that outfit that you're wearing. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I oyster quartz would look great here. So, like, what's your
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very versatile design. You can wear it with a t-shirt. You can wear it with a suit. It's 36 millimeters, which I think is a perfect size, and especially for the day date, it's like the classic size. One thing I will say that it wears a bit bigger than the regular 36 millimeter Rolex because of the shape of the case. The lugs flare out a bit. So I would say it wears maybe like a 37, 38, something like this. But very comfortable. The bracelet and the case is very well built. It feels very solid. It's it. I would even say that if it was released today, it would pass as a modern watch. They are really tight.
Like timeless design, timeless look.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and
Yeah.
compared with other Rolexes, the design, the finishing is very luxurious,
Yeah.
I
I
would
mean,
say.
it was. It seems like that was their like the, if not the highest, maybe it was their highest end watch. That
Yeah,
seems like the finishing
when
is just, oh my god.
they
Hmm.
launched it was, yeah. And
Hmm.
there is this brushed and polished surfaces,
Hmm.
beveled edges. So this is something that you usually see on much more expensive watches.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Cool. So now, so a lot of my uh, a lot of viewers on my, I mean, several talked about this topic of service cost of oyster quartz. So we need to like bring it out here, because that's a very important. So we talked a lot about we talked a bit about authenticity, which is a good thing. But now if we talk about the service, so I can let me just tell you the story that one of my viewers told me. So he bought like oyster quartz watch, a great watch. He loved it. He sent it to Rolex to service it. You guys, if you buy vintage watch, don't send it to a brand to service it. Usually it's a bad idea, really bad idea. So Rolex sent him a $10,000 bill. Can you imagine $10,000? So he decided not to do it with Rolex, but still he found somebody in Hong Kong. So like that seems like this is like great guy, like very like famous. Like I don't know that guy in Hong Kong, but like
I think I
yes,
know this
yeah,
this guy in Hong Kong.
uh-huh.
He's called the bracelet,
I think yeah,
yeah,
I think
bracelet
that's
magician.
magician. Yeah, I think that's the one.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he serviced it for $1,500. So like $1,500. And like again, like my viewer is happy because $1,500 is less than 10,000, but it's kind of like again, I don't know what he did. Maybe there were some parts, and we're gonna talk about parts. Some parts are actually super expensive, but like 1,500. Come on, guys, $1,500 really. So I have a lot of friends who also have oyster quartz. So here in New York, they paid like reasonable prices for servicing, but. I probably talk too much. I'll let you. Can you mention? Can you talk a little bit about servicing? Uh,
Yeah, I've heard the rumor that the servicing is expensive, and I've had many oyster quartzes serviced, and I would say that they are reasonable.
mhm,
And I would agree with you that I would not send it to this to the brand to Rolex AD, because I've had some let's say questionable experiences from there also. But in terms of prices, no. For example, um, I had a Datejust. It had some water damage to the movement. The watchmaker needed to change some parts. It was 300 euros.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
and that's in Europe.
that's in Europe. Yeah.
Mhm,
Of course, you need to take into account where you're located also. So,
mhm,
the prices could be quite different if you're in Europe, in Asia,
mhm,
United States.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but like I guess like European prices and United States prices, they are kind of comparable high. Like
Possible. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, like 300 euros, maybe like 400 euros. That sounds reasonable to me. Because again, like if you guys saw that movement, the movement is just unbelievable. It's so pretty. It's all from metal parts. It's fully serviceable. That's not kind of like your crappy quartz. That's a really nice quartz movement. But again, I don't want to say it's cheaper. It's easier than to service mechanical movement. But
This I don't know. Yeah, and actually the movement is based on the mechanical movement. So it's I would say it's like 70% same. So if you look into a submariner or explorer from the same era, it's 70% the same movement. So so Rolex decided instead of inventing a bicycle, they will develop the quartz movement side by side with the mechanical movement, and just the power comes from the quartz motor. So yeah, so but 70% it's a mechanical movement, and I have here regarding the servicing prices. I have here actually. How much the new movement costs from the factory.
The Oysterquartz movement?
Yeah. So if you would want the brand new movement, it's 3,500 euros.
Okay, that's.
So this is like everything except for the battery.
Very nice. Yeah. So that's actually from Rolex, or that's from just from?
That's from Rolex. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, very nice. So we also need to mention parts also. So I know, so like a lot of my friends have specifically not just Oysterquartz, but they have date Oysterquartz. Like I had a chance to actually try it on my wrist. Like, oh my god, that's date Oysterquartz. It's a dream watch. It's like so cool. But what I wanted to talk about parts. So actually, several of my friends needed to change parts. And some parts are for some reason like super expensive. I guess because like Oysterquartz is not very common movement. Because like I know, but like with other movements, for example, like with ETA. So I have my Hamilton Fab D. So my watchmaker changed the whole like balance assembly. That's a very expensive part, and it was like $50. But for Oysterquartz, so I remember two cases. So unfortunately, I don't remember which was, if it was some motor or it was a coil. So one of my friends had to replace something, and watchmaker actually ordered it from Rolex. So it was $500 for that part, for just that. And like because I guess the Rolex just keeps, like they don't make this movement, so they just keep increasing the prices on their end. So that's, but still, like okay. So you're gonna pay $300 for the service. Hey, Marcus, you went black.
Yeah, I had someone calling me.
Oh, okay.
But let's see now. How do I get it?
Let me continue this wonderful story. Oh yeah. Can you come back?
Yeah. Okay.
You're still black. Oh no! Did you drop out? Okay, so we actually have a workaround for the issues, guys. So Marcus hopefully will join us, and he's joining us. And now, yeah, you're back. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So that part from Rolex was $500. Now, my another friend needed also some. I don't remember if that was the same part or it was a different expensive part. So for that part, Rolex wanted $2,000. So he actually found the part on eBay, and he paid $750 on eBay, and he gave it to his watchmaker, and like everything's great. But Yes.
Maybe I've been lucky that the parts that needed some maintenance or changing were not the most expensive parts. But if the whole movement costs like 3,500 euros, and a lot of it is shared with the mechanical counterpart. So I'm
So
sure
this is very good. Yeah. So the parts that are shared, it's also very interesting because I know that Seiko went the same way. So when they launched the quartz movement, so like several of calibers that are these like early quartz calibers, they share the mechanical movements and quartz movements like the same. So like a lot of parts are interchangeable. So I can imagine those parts that are interchangeable, they are super cheap because like Rolex parts are like they are common. So maybe there are just like few parts that you're unlucky, but yeah, again, like you're gonna pay $300-400 for service. Maybe you'll buy like one expensive part, but should be reasonable. But in your experience, you didn't see the issue with like needing a lot of expensive parts. Nothing.
No,
Was all good.
And even through the AD, I would say the servicing the movements, I've had no issue. I would say the main issue with Oysterquartz is the condition of the case and bracelet. And to refinish those, this is a very hard task, and I would say don't let Rolex do it. There are a few companies in the world who really do a high-end job of it. They add metal and they really refinish the case because I would say.
But that's gonna cost you. That's gonna be expensive work.
Now, for example, I've used Pendulum Labs. They're a high-end shop in Italy, and Oysterquartz was 550 euros to put the case and bracelet.
Case and that's really good. So like was it in a relatively good condition or like
I would say it was in a medium condition. They needed to add metal, but overall a big difference from before and after.
I see. Yeah, because like this like Oysterquartz that plays with lights, it more kind of reminds me vintage Grand Seikos, where like if they are polished, then it just looks like crap. So you want So I imagine the same will be with Oysterquartz, because like if those edges are left, if edges are not sharp. So I know with vintage Grand Seiko you almost want to kind of like touch it, and you almost should be able to cut your finger.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's
probably the same with Oysterquartz.
That's the same with Oysterquartz, and I would say like 95% of watches, or even more, 99% of watches that I see online, I see for sale on Chrono. They are over polished. They've seen some rough years.
Yeah. So I would say, guys, just skip it. Just keep looking for a good Oysterquartz in a good. Just pay attention to this. Pay attention to the
exactly.
The edges.
There is a huge difference if you have them side by side. A well preserved, not polished Oysterquartz, and then an over polished Oysterquartz. It looks like dare I say crap.
Yeah. Do you? So I have Kind of a random question. Do you see a lot of battery leaks in Oysterquartz watches from your experience?
This is the first time I hear battery leaks and oyster quartz in the same sentence. So I
Very
guess,
nice.
yeah.
That answer, okay.
Maybe
Very nice.
again I've been lucky, but
Uh-huh.
I have had no such issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
very nice. Because I also like battery leak is usually a big problem in quartz watches.
Mm.
So like for example, I know that these like Seiko Gen ones, they like one of the few things that can kill them is a battery leak. But yeah, if it's not common with oyster quartz, or maybe they somehow like protected that area. I don't know. Can you
I think
can you protect
when
that?
I've looked at the movement, so I don't think that it's somehow protected from that.
Mm-hmm.
If I think about it now, but who knows?
Okay, but at least like
Yeah.
you didn't. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I've
Yeah.
had no issue with this, yeah. But once again, maybe I'm lucky. So
So if you buy an oyster quartz, do you want that like movement picture, and do you want to see if there's any like signs of any like corrosion or battery leak in that area, or like usually you're fine?
uh, no, I would say 90% of my focus goes on the case and bracelet.
On the case and bracelet. Okay.
So if the case and bracelet are in top condition, I can close my eyes even if there's some problems with the movement. Yeah.
You would better like take a risk, and if something needs to be fixed, then watchmaker will fix it. But like if case and or bracelet is in bad condition, then that's kind of too bad. So
Exactly.
we are starting getting some questions. So we're gonna talk about I actually want to talk about prices. So we're gonna come to it. Cutoff for vintage. And refinishing is not advisable. I'd feel iffy about refinishing and Oysterquartz from 70s. So yeah, so like my personal opinion on the so first of all, the cutoff for vintage. So I personally consider everything which is older than 25 years vintage. I know that's not a very, some people think different, but what's your opinion, Marcus? How old watch is vintage, and how old is not vintage for you?
I would need to look up the definition of vintage, but for me it's just kind of the some inner feeling. I would say right now I feel anything before 2000 is starting to feel vintage for me. Yeah, 20,
Yeah, it's
25
getting
years.
close. Yeah, it's getting close to 25. So so I'm gonna give you another example, guys. So in these vintage pens, so this is vintage Mont Blanc from 1970s. Uh, Pen collectors don't consider this pen vintage. This is from 1970s. They consider this pen modern. So, for example, in pen collecting community, if your watch, if your pen is pre-war, which means pre-World War II, then it's vintage. If it's after the war, then it's all like they call it contemporary modern. Which is crazy, absolutely crazy. Okay, so now one thing that I wanted to mention, kind of negatives of the integrated bracelets. So that's probably common to all watches with integrated bracelets. It's just like we probably want to mention it because there is no oyster quartz without integrated bracelet. That's kind of the thing, and because of that integrated bracelet, that's why it kind of like looks so good and so amazing. But the negative is, so like the first negative, if that bracelet breaks, right, or maybe that bracelet is like too short for you. If it's too long for you, probably you can just remove lens. But if it's like too short for you, or like you were wearing that watch and you like hit it or something broke in the bracelet, then the watch is unusable because the bracelet broke. that's kind of like in the watch like this, you can just replace the bracelet or replace the strap, but that's kind of like unfortunate thing that it's
Well,
becoming.
if the bracelet is too short for you, you can always buy an extra link.
Oh, by the way, yes.
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
links are with screws. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, you can add them here as many as you want. So
Oh, this is, yeah. I didn't think about. And what is the cost? Because these are specifically for oyster quartz. What how expensive are those
they
extra
are quite
links?
expensive. I think one link is about 500 euros, something like this.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but
I
I
see. So keep that in
and
mind, guys.
yeah, and then
Okay.
again,
Uh-huh.
Rolex has these micro adjustable clasps. So here is
Yeah, it's yeah.
yeah, so here is
Mhm.
quite a lot of, I would say, even almost 2 centimeters of extra space if you want to to make it bigger or smaller.
Mhm,
So they are quite
mhm.
versatile, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. But you probably can, hey, how about this business idea? You buy yourself an oyster quartz with a bracelet which is way too long for you. You remove the links that you don't need, and you just sell them $500 a pop, and you just paid for your. Maybe you will cover the cost of your oyster quartz.
Let me count how many there is. Now I see here's four of them I can remove.
That's like two
So
thousand
it's
bucks right there, guys.
€2,000 back.
2,000 euros, guys, right there.
That's
And another kind of negative thing about integrated bracelet that so like watches that have removable bracelet, you can put a strap there, and you can change the looks. So you can wear it with different straps. So like that integrated bracelet will still look the best because that's something that was like designed with that watch. So yeah, you can like put a strap and get a better look, but you kind of like, especially if this is your only watch or one of the few watches, you will get tired of it. So sometimes you want to kind of like get different looks, but with integrated bracelets, you are not getting it. So now there was one question in the beginning about prices. So I don't follow Oyster Quartz. I don't know. Kind of much about those. What are the prices, let's say, like now? So if I would want to buy oyster, like I usually, like, if I like to find out prices, I look at sold items on eBay, not prices that people offer it to sell on eBay or Chrono24, but eBay actually shows you the sold prices, which is very good. So that's more shows you the market. Can you kind of like, in your experience, what are the prices for like steel oyster quartz, two-tone, solid gold, kind of?
Yeah, so the entry level is the two-tone version, similar that I have here.
Mhm.
So with a poor condition, you can get them maybe 3,500, maybe
Mhm.
even a little bit less, 3,200, something like
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
But I would not recommend to go for the cheapest one. You would always want to check the condition of the bracelet and the case.
Mhm.
And these go up to 7 or 8 thousand if it's in really good condition and comes with box and papers. And
So
maybe
like,
yeah,
just like plain vanilla steel oyster quartz can be like $7,000.
two-tone.
Oh,
Uh,
two-tone. Two-tone. Okay.
yeah, the stainless steel ones can be even more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now I was talking about the two-tone
Mhm.
Datejust version. So yeah, these go, let's say, 3.5 up to 7
Mhm.
if they are in new old stock condition and the full set.
Mhm.
Then there is the steel versions, which are a bit more expensive. I would say these go from 4.5 to maybe even 7.5 or 8,000, depending on the condition and if it's a full set. And then there is the day date, the all gold version. These start from around 12,000, and the most expensive ones are 150,000 plus.
What?
Yeah, these are these are
What's
usually
that?
some very rare references with gemstones.
Oh, I
Or
see. I see. Okay. 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 So
yeah,
that's like a special market. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
that's
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
And maybe those like Arabic dials, or like
exactly,
I don't know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I don't know, some dictator made a watch for himself, and it has his picture. Or, I don't know.
That's true. Yeah,
But
yeah.
those prices. So you say from like 3.5, 4 to like 7, 8. So like I wanted to say it's comparable to Datejust, just like Rolex Datejust, not Oyster Quartz. But I would say the top end is high. Like I don't think that Datejust can cost like $7,000. Can it? I'm also not up to date with my
I am
vintage
not.
Datejust prices. So.
I'm not an expert
Mhm.
into the regular Datejust.
Mhm.
I don't remember the last time I checked the prices.
Mhm.
So, but could be, yeah.
Mhm.
And someone asked about are they trending up or down?
Mhm.
So I would say that they are holding pretty well compared with everything else. Uh, the the mainstream watches are coming down heavily, but
Mhm.
they of course had a crazy boom also.
Mhm.
So I would say that Oyster Quartz is trending sideways, going up a little bit.
Mhm.
As I think last few years, a lot of new people entered the watch space, and and in the beginning, I guess they gravitated towards the Daytonas, the Royal Oaks.
Mhm.
Uh, but now, if you go to an event where people wear watches and you see maybe five other guys wearing the same watch,
Yeah.
maybe 3 years ago it was fun, but now I see that people want something different. They want something unique. So I know vintage Cartier is trending, and I guess Oyster Quartz is also maybe something that it's a conversation piece.
Yeah.
It's if you wear it, you can almost be sure that no one else is wearing it.
Yeah.
And if you say that it's a quartz, then you get a lot of questions, and these are usually the right kind of questions, the kinds that you like to answer.
Yeah.
So and also I think the size is also as the trends now are moving towards smaller watches, the 36 millimeter is right at the sweet spot of
Oh yeah.
the
That was
size.
always kind of like throughout the history. Like if you want a round watch, right? But there are other shapes. But if you want a round watch, that this like 36 millimeters, that was always that like a golden, that's like a perfect size. And yeah, all oyster quartzes are 36. So they hit the mark. That's perfect. But it seems like so in terms of like recommending oyster quartz or not, like the so I know sometime before, like maybe like 5 or more years ago, like oyster quartz was significantly cheaper than comparable just like Datejust or Date. But now seems like, based on what you say, they are kind of on par, maybe even higher priced. So it kind of like loses this attractiveness. Uh, right? So it's still different.
I think one of the reasons might be that, like you said, they were very cheap. So people did not look after them. They were over polished. They are stretched. They are not serviced. I know a lot of them were melted for gold. So if you want a really nice one, I would say you need now a few months of really searching. And I guess that's when you need to pay the premium. Because 99% of them are just in so bad condition that just no one wants them. So
yeah, now once because they are not that common. They are pretty rare, and like once that one good one hits the market every like 2 months, then people swarm and raise the prices.
Yeah,
I see. Cool. Yeah, I think I have all this on my list. Did we answer all the questions? Dark Star, I like vintage Seiko Chronos Special from 1962 too. Great watch. Not Oysterquartz. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, I think we went through this. So Marcus, thank you so much. That was amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing your cool watches. Yeah, and I will try to keep my channel about things that are unusual, things that are unique, kind of like this, like Oysterquartz watches that like nobody's talking about, but you guys should know about them. And thank you, Marcus, for sharing this with us.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. And one more thing I want to mention. I realized that I have come to the end of my road as a collector. So I started my own small watch blog, watch business. You can check me out at NewQuartzCrisis.com. Where I also have some watches for sale, because I realized that I can't afford all the watches that I would like to experience, so I need to sell some to buy some more. So feel free to check me out.
Yeah. So guys, so his Marcus's website is NewQuartzCrisis, just like QuartzCrisis, and it's NewQuartzCrisis, NewQuartzCrisis.com, and also follow him on Instagram, also NewQuartzCrisis.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, Marcus. Thank you so much. Okay, guys.
Thank you, Andrew.
Bye.
And bye-bye.
Bye.